हो सर, कारण आता लाईव्ह मी देऊ लागलोय 1 मिनिटात.
Okay. Okay, sir.
येस सर, यू कॅन कंटिन्यू नाव.
Yes, sir. Good evening to all. On behalf of Shri Mahavidyalaya Shikshan Prasarak Mandals, Shri Kumarswami College Ausa, I welcome all the dignitaries and participants from all over the country and from outside for this national webinar on basic aspects of intellectual property law. The college has been conducting a series of national and international webinars. Till now, hundreds of national and international webinars have been conducted by the college because of the strong academic leadership and innovative activities which are performed by the chief organizer of this webinar series and chairperson of this national webinar, respected Principal Dr. M.M. Bedkar sir. I heartily welcome him for this national webinar on virtual platform. I am very happy to welcome today's chief guest and keynote speaker, Miss Mukul Rani Parajuli, IFIM Law School, Bengaluru. On behalf of the organizing committee, I welcome the respected keynote speaker and chief guest of this webinar for this national webinar. I also welcome organizing committee members, Vice Principal Dr. S.D. Misal sir, Karanje sir, Uttage sir, Dr. Patwari sir, Garad sir, Khillare sir, Dr. Wadkar sir, Dr. Dhole ma'am, and IQAC coordinator, Dr. Sanjay Kade sir. As you know, today's topic of webinar is basic aspects of intellectual property law. The chief guest and keynote speaker is going to enlighten us about all the aspects of it in detail. So, I will not take much time, and before the beginning of the keynote speech, I would like to invite Dhole ma'am to introduce today's chief guest and keynote speaker. Welcome, Dhole ma'am.
Thank you.
In detail. So, I will not take much
Organized
time.
by Shri Kumarswami Mahavidyalaya, Ausa. Firstly, I would like to thank respected principal and chief organizer Dr. Bedkar MM for giving me an opportunity to introduce resource person on this virtual platform. Many big thanks to organizing committee members, and special thanks goes to all the respected participants who are joining and making this series very successful series. So today's resource person is Miss Mukul Rani Parajuli, IFIM Law School, Bengaluru. Title of speech is Basic Aspects of Intellectual Property Law. Miss Mukul ma'am is a law researcher and works in the field of intellectual property law, arbitration law, consumer law, law and economics, and old laws of Sikkim. She has more than 5 publications published in peer-reviewed journals and international journals. She has an academic qualification from Jason University, Guwahati, and Law School, China, Murrier School of Law, Indian University, USA, Jindal Global Law School, OP, Jindal Global University, India, and Sikkim Government Law College affiliated with University of North Bengal, India. Mukul ma'am practiced at the Honorable High Court of Sikkim for over 3 years. She served as a faculty at the Sikkim Central University and ICFAI University Sikkim. Man was awarded the Chinese government scholarship at Zhejiang University Law School, China. She obtained her master's in intellectual property right and technology law. She completed intensive courses on intellectual property law and European law. She has obtained her BA LLB degree from the Sikkim Government Law College affiliated with University of North Bengal, India. Mukul ma'am has scored distinctions in her master in Chinese law. She has been awarded Certificate of Excellence for her outstanding performance and excellence in academic endeavors at OP Jindal University, India. Mukul ma'am is known for her observational skills, works as a conspicuous and as an enthusiastic teacher of law. She believes in knowledge sharing with an outcome. So with this introduction, I would like to request today's resource person, Miss Mukul ma'am, please start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prakash sir, the organizing team, and Anita ma'am for such a wonderful introduction.
Welcome, ma'am.
It is an honor and a privilege to be part of the Mahavidyalaya as a resource person. My special thanks to Bedkar sir for connecting to me and inviting me for the session. Today is a very important day because I will be presenting before an inventor himself, Mr. Bedkar, who has already have 7 patents, and we will definitely invite him also as a resource person to communicate with my students. As what my aim is as a IP enthusiast, I call myself, because I was not a very good student to start and to make it very obvious and admit it before all of you. But when I started my reading and research in IP, I ended scoring a distinction during my master's. So IP is not only a subject not only a subject, but it is the way towards life. I hope my screen is visible now, and this is a specially curated presentation for Shri Kumarswami Mahavidyalaya. I always do that. I especially curate PPTs for the institutions where I'm presenting, because I really want to motivate and connect with students, with all the faculty members and enthusiasts. So looking at the core curriculum that you give and the batches which you teach is art, commerce and science. So today my presentation on basic aspects of intellectual property law will be specially focused to encourage the students, encourage the faculty to have a knowledge sharing experience and clear the doubts of students related to basic aspects of intellectual property law. So my only motive and core motive is to improve the IP literacy rate in India, intellectual property literacy rate. When I talk of general literacy rate, that is also challenging, but when I talk about IP literacy rate, it is more worrisome situation. Definitely, I'll show you this with some database that I've prepared for the university today. So before I start, I would really like to put up a question. Okay, not with an expectation to receive an answer, but just to keep you more engaged during the presentation and also keep you thinking as well, because we are talking about intellectual property, which definitely involves our brain, which involves us, and which involves institutions, enterprises, and why it's so much important for us to know about the basic aspects of intellectual property law. So my question is there a relation between human brain anatomy and creativity? Okay. Definitely yes. And this also I realized much late when I started teaching students and creating more awareness regarding IP. When they said, ma'am, please define intellectual property law to us. So my answer to that question was, it does not have any definite meaning. And I think that even Dr. Bedkar will agree to agree with me, because there is no definite meaning to what is intellectual property. So when we try and explain what is intellectual property, we divide the term. Okay, so today I'll be dividing the term what is intellectual, what is law, and what is property. Why do we forget that when it's a tangible form of property, we give it more importance, we give it more respect, we become more careful. But when it's intangible form, IP, in form of a property, we are quite negligent about it as well. So when I was talking to one of the students who was from science background, I was explaining him in science context what is human brain anatomy like, and we generally ignore it. I am from an arts background, so we generally ignore self-awareness about ourselves. So this is the front part of our brain. So it is frontal lobe. Okay, the term itself is a very good explanation on what this term is. So when we see a person, when we meet a person, and some person, they really attract us because of the personality, because of the dynamic decision making, because some people really feel that smell in the room, and some people really have a very good speech ability. So all to our frontal lobe. Okay, why I'm emphasizing on this anatomy right now is because when we talk about intellectual, it is the human creativity that comes from brain. Okay, our heart definitely support us, but it's brain from where we think. The parietal lobe is this section of our brain is helps us understand and identify object. Okay, when we see problem in something, some people don't see problem in that thing. Okay, when you see a person entering the room, or when you see an object, you suddenly find that object to be bigger than you, okay, larger than you. So how do we identify that? It is this part of the brain which help us identify that. How do we know that we have a fever? How do we understand some person spoken language quickly? How does some person know even 5 to 6 language? How do they know? So this is contribution of our parietal lobe. Another part of our brain involves vision. So in IP, if I talk about trademark, it is inviting our vision. Okay, why do we see and get attracted to so many colors? Why do food, their branding color includes only red and yellow? What is the connection of our vision, of our brain anatomy, and of the trademark? It is very interesting to read about this interdisciplinary approach to intellectual property law for a science student. So I thought of really bringing this forward for the science students and even the faculties. So temporal lobe involves our short-term memory. Okay? I really emphasize students sometimes we have to really work on the temporal lobe because it's taking over us, because it's short-term memory power that we have, and we tend to lose it sometimes, especially during our exams. So all this combination, if you see, it's very important, and it's very important to be self-aware of our brain, human brain anatomy. So today I'll just highlight what I'll present. When I talk about basic aspects of intellectual property, it is very important for us to understand what is intellectual property. When I want to explain what is intellectual property, I think examples, giving good examples of the creator, giving good examples of creation will definitely connect you to the term intellectual property. In the second phase of the presentation, I'll brief you, and I'll ask your input also if you are well able to connect with law or not. What is the aim and objective of intellectual property law? What are the principles attached to intellectual property law? When I'm saying principles for science students, it might be formula that you use to understand some problems while solving mathematics. But in law, we use principles, we use some kind of our own formula, which we term as principle, to understand the law in a better way. It's not only the act, it's not only the rules that we follow, but we also adopt some principles to follow that laws and rules. And I'll tell you very important principles related to intellectual property law. In the third part of my presentation, I'll raise a very important issue related to intellectual property literacy rate in India, because it's directly connected to the basic aspects and how people are not aware about the basic aspects of intellectual property which is around them. So I'll connect you to some examples which will help you understand that you every day see intellectual property, touch intellectual property, and even talk about it without realizing that you're talking about intellectual property. And I'll also justify why it's important for us to understand and what are the government initiatives and way forward. Talking about intellectual property, I think at the outset I already said that it's we don't have a perfect definition on intellectual property. So it depends on country laws. It depends on the scholars of the country who try and define intellectual property. But broadly, the definition of intellectual property falls under the definition of human creativity. And what are the types of intellectual property? That's again a big question. People like us, who are the resource person in the intellectual property, we do face this dilemma on how to make people understand about intellectual property. So the best way to understand is to imagine. I'll request everyone today to imagine what a world, a world without an invention. When I say invention, I'm talking about the pen we are having within our hand today. We are talking about the electricity. We are talking about the kitchen appliances that we use in our houses. We are talking about the bags that we carry, especially our laptop bags. We are talking about the medicines we take, things without handicraft that we use as a decor in our house. Imagine a world without handicraft. Imagine a world without agriculture product on which we survive till date. Imagine not knowing from where white onions are coming, from which location white onions, from which location mangoes are coming during the mango season. Imagine not knowing the geographical location, not visiting the geographical location and enjoying these products. Imagine a world without books. As an educational institution, even that gives us a goosebump. Imagine a world without books, without music, without movies. Okay? Imagine a world where there is misbalanced ecosystem. So when I say misbalanced ecosystem, I even emphasize how important a mosquito is to create a balance in the ecosystem. Okay, I know they give us number of infections, illness, sickness, but they are also there to keep balance in an ecosystem. So I think from now on, I'll request you, at least before running out over mosquitoes, please do remember that they are part of ecosystem and they create a balance, and explain it further how mosquitoes and honeybees are there for our balanced biodiversity, and it's related to IP as well. I'll further ask you to imagine about food insecurities that we might face in future, because if farmers are not motivated and protected, their traditional knowledge are not protected in certain ways under laws, then we will be in a huge risk. Okay, so this is an alert message, alert to be imaginative, to think, to research how to protect all this innovations and creativity, so that we don't lag behind as a country, as an individual in the sphere of intellectual property. And I request everyone to recognize and acknowledge all this scenario. Now, let me start with inventions. Okay. Now, best example. So far my teaching experience involves, I have connected to students and people much more when I explain them IP through examples. Okay, so best example till date that I could come up for explaining invention and patent when I explain them IP through examples. Okay, so best youngest differently abled patent holder in the world. I think we should salute and applaud to the efforts put in by this young kid, because he is one of the inventor who, when he was 9 years of age, he identified one problem, and that problem is very simple problem that any kid could have identified. So when he was playing chess with his parents at home, some of his friends visited him and they also wanted to play, but they could not because chess is a game for two people. So he came up with the idea that I'll create a circular chess which will have like 6 players, so that everyone will get to play. Okay, a very small thought from a 9-year-old kid, and he really worked on it. And it was in 2019 he got patent for this his 6 round chessboard. Okay. After that, he did not stop, because you can see in the picture also he is differently abled. He really wanted people to understand, and he also used this phrase, his quote, that the only disability is low self-esteem, and I am never going to doubt my self-esteem. So he said that I will make my life much easier for myself, and he created this wheelchair, and he also applied for this invention and got patent over it. So we can see how it's all about human brain. It doesn't matter if you are differently able or you have some kind of disability in you. So it's all about human creativity and human anatomy that you are aware of and you can utilize. Okay? So this is one of inspiring story of a patent holder and his patent journey. Another best example to explain trademark, I thought if I am presenting before Mahavidyalaya, which is in Maharashtra, why not take Mumbai Taj Palace as one of the example to explain trademark. Trademark, very simple explanation. See, we need to connect to the subject, so we have to go with a very literal meaning of the term trademark. Okay? So whenever you walk a street, I can bet, okay, I can bet 100 rupees on it that you'll identify at least 100 of logos, brand name, color combination that you use, numbers that you use, even sound mark you will identify. You will identify it when you open your laptop, when you open your phone, or any electronic devices. Okay? Sound devices are used by all the businesses and enterprises to attract more customers. And they also, I think they are also well aware again of the human brain anatomy. Registration of architectural design was not really taken up in India. We have our Trademark Act of 1999. But since sometimes it becomes important to do something out of box. So India finally identified that if there is one structure in India which should be trademarked as soon as possible, okay, and in the same scale that Eiffel Tower in Paris has and Sydney Opera in Australia has, if we have to trademark one of the architectural design, it should be Mumbai Taj Palace. And why? What the justification they put forward is it was built in 1903. It was built even before Gateway of India. And another important thing that I notice is that because it's very close to the harbor that the Indian Navy use, they even use it as a stop point, as an indication that they are approaching the harbor. Okay? The architecture quality, the inbuilt quality, the design should be trademarked so that it is not replicated in other places. Okay? So with this aim, Indian government they took for this, and it got its patent in 2017. Late, but sometimes it's better to be late than never. Okay, and they recognize it as a trademark. Now, moving forward to copyright. Copyright, explaining it with an example, is just the symbol. The importance of C symbol. I think you must have noticed my beginning of the slide that I have used the ear and the symbol C. It's very, very important because IP is not there forever with you as an owner or as a creator. There is a time limit. There is a stop at the monopoly or the exclusive right that you have, because later within the time frame you are given, okay, you have to commercialize it, you have to take full advantage of your creation and innovation, and after that you should submit it for public knowledge and for public interest. So when you see in a book copyright and the year, you have to see that the book is protected for the lifetime of the author and 60 years counted from his or her death. Okay, and you can see this C symbol in book, novel, poem, photograph, even in the website, the apps that you use, the WhatsApp that you use, the software codes that's created, the databases that are created, the business proposal plans which are very confidential and important, C symbol is used. Okay, so you see this, I think 50 times in a day, because as an institution you'll be referring to book, you'll be referring to some photographs to explain some concepts to their students. So you are using and you are touching and identifying copyright every day. Now another important thing is aspect of IP is biodiversity. When I was talking about mosquitoes initially in the opening statement of my presentation, I was trying to explain the importance of biodiversity. So Indian government has created a hotspot. Okay, you can see 4 important hotspots in Indian map before you. It is the Himalayan region, the Indo-Burma location, the Western Ghats. Okay, everything is covered under the biodiversity hotspot. But why I'm talking about this when I'm talking about IP? Because Biodiversity Act is here, okay, to protect some and to make sure that the resources, the knowledge related to biodiversity is also protected under copyright. Now, when I was talking about again mosquito, honeybee, they are pollination insect. Okay, pollination insect becomes very, very important for flowers, for crops, for food we eat. So there is a research being done by the Bee Foundation, Win Bee Foundation, and it's very important for us to understand, because as an individual, as a citizen also, that every biodiversity, every bioresource has its role to play. Okay, and if we don't allow them to play their role, then we will run out of food, because all the tasty foods and fruits that we eat are because of this pollination insect, like mosquito and honeybees, butterflies. Okay, all the insects that you see around you are pollinating so that we don't run out of the food security. All this research which are done by the agriculture universities, which are done by food security industry, it became very important that there should be some law intervention on this. And even the biological resources which the local communities, which the tribal communities and traditional knowledge that is there in India should be used in a sustainable manner. If a community in Northeast is utilizing or sharing some information which comes from their traditional knowledge, it should be protected. Or even if they share, they should get the benefit that is arising out of it. Okay, and this issue really got hold when number of issues of biopiracy came into picture in India, because basmati rice was being claimed by European country to be theirs, when turmeric, when the medicinal value of turmeric was claimed by USA to be theirs. Okay, and even a layman will disagree that the medicinal value of turmeric, haldi that we use, is known to our grandparents, is there in our scriptures, and is there in our religious book as well. Okay, so that can't be claimed by US by saying that they had invented or recognized the medicinal value of turmeric. So when biopiracy was at peak, the Indian government thought it's better to document it, to have a better research documentation. So even when other countries file for patent or file for such certain discoveries and inventions, they cross-check. They have a document to refer. Okay? So all this problem insisted and forced the Indian government and even the scholars to further research and understand the need of Biodiversity Act of 2002. But the best part in this act is that they try and create a win-win situation. Okay, here you will see that they are talking about sustainable use and equitable sharing benefits. But what if there is Veds and Hakims, okay, who are there working as a traditional practitioner to cure our diseases. They should not be one who should approach to a biodiversity state board authorities and national board authorities to take permission to continue the practice which they have been doing it from generation to generation. Okay, so they fall under this exemption list. And even the act is encouraging collaborative research projects. So if as an Indian institute you enter into a collaboration with foreign institute, you just have to take a simple approval through an application to the central government to take that research in collaboration with foreign universities. Okay, so it is no way that this act is discouraging a collaborative research, nor it's harming any traditional practices or practitioners of all this biodiversity and its outcome as medicinal value. Another and very last and very important IP Act that I'll be talking about. I'm limiting to all the 4 acts right now, because talking about Information Technology Act will take another session, so we might take it as another session. Talking about protection of plant variety and farmers' right, we have to understand one important aspect. Okay, this world will sooner or later face some food security. The crops which are grown in certain area or states might not be favorable for that crop anymore. Okay, due to the climate change that we undergo, due to the harsh weather change. Today, Bangalore, which is best known for its best weather, is under yellow alert due to heavy rainfall. Okay? So all this climate change, we are noticing it day by day. So food crisis will be one of the things. That is why this act came into picture. But this act, when it came in force, it was in 2001. Okay, but later, it was not much known to people that it's fall under IP. But in 2011, a huge issue came. Okay, when PepsiCo India is a food and beverage company. Okay, and it's the manufacturer of the Lay's chips that we eat, I think, every day. Okay, and they filed a case saying that the Gujarat farmers who are using the potato seed for the agriculture product are using and illegally using their variety, which is used to produce potato. Okay, but later when Indian courts interpreted this, okay, it was a very welcome step taken by the Indian courts, that they said that the seed, the quality of the potato to be much favorable for snacks and for making chips is falling within the common knowledge, because it is also protected under Seed Act of 1966. Okay? So, Act is there to encourage the farmers, encourage the food security, and also to encourage that the farmers are not exploited by big companies. Okay? So, after 2011, people are more aware about the farmer insecurities. They are also trying to protect farmers' right, farmers' bill. Definitely, okay, it might come with some more potential changes, good possible changes in future. So all these are IP, intellectual property, and whenever you roam around and to get your groceries in a market, you definitely see number of vegetables which are hybrid. You definitely see different change in color, shapes. So this act is also encouraging all scientific research to create new plant varieties, but they are also recognizing farmers' effort for creating new plant varieties. You will see after this act, you will see, I have not put the data here, but you will see after 2011 to 2011, you will see a mushroom growth of agricultural universities in India. And this act is one of the cause for growing agricultural university in India. And you will also see the trend that how geographical indications is being filed in India these days, because we have more agricultural university who is taking proper research and filing applications on behalf of states to identify geographical indications. So coming to the last intellectual property right and a narration about what is IP, I will take you to geographical indication. What is geographical indication? So the coffee that you are drinking early morning, the green tea, the Darjeeling tea that you are drinking early morning is a geographical indication, because you know that it is from certain geographical location and it has some flavor that is stored in that product which is connected to that geography. Okay, but it's very worrisome situation that I'm taking you to. Another slide is that if I have to explain you GI, and if I have to explain you IP literacy rate in India now, I'll take you to this graph. Okay, now China is filing, so I'm not talking about application which is accepted. I'm just talking about how much filing is done. In China, they cross more than 7,000. In EU, they fall below 5. In Canada, they fall below 1,000, and we are somewhere within 300. Okay, so final accepted application for identification of geographical agriculture product or handicraft or food stuff is only 300. And India being such a large country with more than so many cultures, so many traditions, this data shows that we are not aware of protecting our geographical indication. Now, Karnataka is a leading state. I think Professor Bedkar also in his last webinar, he was talking about how Karnataka is leading in GI application. But I will further elaborate on what kind of GI Karnataka is focusing on and what are they missing out on still. And not to worry, because Maharashtra is third in the rank and definitely very close to Tamil Nadu and Karnataka with 32 GI registered in their name. Now Karnataka, if you see this data, you will see that more handicraft products are being protected because it's generally creating market from them. The laborers are being incentivized to take up the handicraft craft and sell it even in the international market. The food and the manufacturing GI is less recognized, and agriculture and handicraft are taking a very good stand as a recognized GI. So I think we should identify which are the important handicraft agriculture GI that can be considered, and we should motivate, because if this go down to zero, then we'll be losing out on our identity as an individual belonging to that state. So it's an alarming situation, because if one or two of this food stuff it's not taking into consideration as a GI, then we are out of the run for identifying better GI products for the country. So I'll again quickly take you to symbols. You must have noticed how you can see R and R here. It means that these trademarks are registered. Okay, I'll request everyone to see when they see trademark, because you might see TM symbol also. So when you see TM symbol, that means they have not applied for a trademark or they are in the process of applying for trademark. So they just inform us and let us know that they are owning this trademark by using the TM symbol. But if they are using R, that means they are legally protected and they are registered mark. You can see in Twitter and Bluetooth, you can see in Facebook, you can see in other big brands where trademark is registered. When you see service mark, okay, even that is unregistered designation that they are trying to give. It is only when they use the term R as a symbol, you will identify that it's registered. In audio tapes, CDs and electronic devices, you see P within the circle. That means it's protected again. Okay. So benefit of using symbol is that you are identifying yourself as owner, and it will not be utilized by any third person. So you are being self-aware of your rights under intellectual property law. So any questions before I go to my phase of the presentation? I'm happy to answer.
No, ma'am, you
Any
can
question?
continue. You can continue.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you, sir. I'll just quickly wind up in next 10 minutes.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. You
Um,
take your own time. It's a very good topic for us, best topic. So you take your own time.
oh,
Don't worry.
okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So when I'm talking about intellectual property law, okay, so this is the trick I'm sharing with you today, because people do get a panic attack when they say, "Oh, law, that those fat books." Okay, so I think we should break that monotony or that thought we have, because I have my colleagues or my friends who are from science background, from commerce background, and they say that the books are too much intimidating for them to even touch and read. Okay? So best way to learn an intellectual property law is to understand, or any law, is best to understand the aims and objective. Why is the law there in the first place? And to know the structure of the act or the law. Okay? So whenever you want to understand intellectual property law, you have to understand that it is giving a status to our creativity and innovation as a property. Okay, because it is intangible in form, you cannot see it, touch. It's only when we express, when we innovate, and when we commercialize, you get to see that there is an IP. Otherwise, it's all our human mind and creativity that we talk when we talk about intellectual property. So status of property is given through the act. Second important aim and objective of IP law is to incentivize. Okay, if you know that if you innovate, you'll be an inventor, you'll have exclusive right, you'll be working for public interest, you will have an exclusive right for certain period of time, you will be able to commercialize on good money, and you will also be working for public welfare, is definitely an incentive. So that is recognized under the act. But the act is also taking a very balanced approach. The law is taking a very balanced approach, because they make sure that you follow certain rules and regulations within the time limit. You also see that your innovation is reached out to people, because if people stop thinking creatively and stop inventing, then we will never progress as a human civilization. We'll go back to a century from where we started. So we don't want to go back, but we want to progress, not as an individual but as a society, and solve the society. Okay, so I think till now we are very much clear about the very literal meaning of what is intellectual and what is property, because property, it's IP property is a journey from intangible form of property to property. Now, structure and importance of IP law. So whenever you hold a Bare Act or a law book, you'll always see that they clearly lay out what is the aims and objective. They also make sure that definition section is very clear, because as a lawyer, we always think that definition should be clear. There should be much clarity about what is the role of inventor, what is the role of the controller of the office, the patent office. Okay, so every role should be identified, everything should be clear. So the definition section is there. Okay, and it also narrates you on your rights and duties, because in law we correlate rights and duty. We don't, in law you'll never see, in any law and in IP law you'll never see that they have only given you rights, but they attach some duties along with the rights. So we always say this phrase that rights and duties are correlated. Okay, so even when students submit me assignment, it is their right to submit an assignment and for me to accept it. But duty is they submit on time and I give them feedback on time. Okay, so in every aspect that we work in our day-to-day life, we see and identify how rights and duties are correlated. Okay, if there is an issue that your rights are violated, we have a mechanism, we have an authority at place which will solve that issue. Okay, law is that for that purpose. So this is the basic structure of IP law. Authorities are there, their qualifications are mentioned in law, what kind of qualification, what if the authorities are in default while following the aims and objectives of this act, what will happen, whether they will be penalized, whether they will be fined or not. So everything is there in the act. Okay, and the court also decides based on what is there in the act, but we also use certain formulas which I'll be going to talk in my third part of the presentation. So I will really encourage everyone who is here today and to all the students. Okay, this is the formula to decode any IP law or law. Moving forward, so if rights, okay, Thomas Edison is known for his invention, but is Nikola Tesla known? He was also equally famous, but he never utilized patent law for protecting his invention. So he is one of the inventors who truly motivated even Thomas Edison, but he could not protect his interests because he did not utilize law. Second important aspect is how will you derive benefits of your hard work that you have put in the invention. Okay, that example I can give is of Mary Anderson. She was a very good inventor, and she was the one who invented the windshield wiper that we use in car. Okay, but she invented it. Automobile industries was not there. It was not booming at that time. And when she got her 17 years of protected patent, her patent expired when the automobile industry boomed. Okay, so it's also the time factor that becomes very important when you research and try and commercialize your invention. Okay, so if law is not there, you will not be able to take into consideration. If you are not able to, if you are not aware of commercialize. Okay, so it's about global economy. If your country is not bringing invention and creative aspects, other countries will not enter into a bilateral treaty agreement with your country. Okay, you will fall from developing to underdeveloped. So it is our duty as an individual and institution to work towards the IP literacy rate in India and to be known for your innovations and creativity. IP law is guaranteeing that if you work, you will be recognized. So Chandigarh University in India is recognized as top Indian university for filing more than 1,000 patents in a short span. Okay, so now this university is leading university, and we also call one student who filed 6 patents under Chandigarh University, and he was only in his second year. So we have been interacting with students who are truly motivated. So definitely younger generation should be encouraged. Now, principles of intellectual property, exclusive. You will be an exclusive right holder when you get your IP. Okay, but this principle is also taken over by public interest because it balances. Okay, you can't have monopoly for longer period because it's under law. Territorial principle. Now, world has become so small. Okay, so if you are filing for a patent or trademark in India, you also should make sure that you are protected outside. So territorial principle will encourage you to file a patent and IP in other countries also. So you get an overall protection because it's territorial protection that you're getting under IP law. National treatment principle is also, and most favored nation principle is also adopted when court sides on your or any dispute related to IP. Okay, so national treatment principle requires that if you are a patent holder in India and if you are filing a patent in US, treatment is also given consideration when the country is underdeveloped. India, Pakistan is also known for its most favored nation because Pakistan is much dependent on us for textiles and pharmaceuticals. So we might give them pharmaceuticals or vaccines for free because we are treating them as underdeveloped nation, and being our neighboring country, we give them most favored nation treatment. Okay? So IP is not only about exclusive right and monopoly, but it is much more about some principles and formulas that court use to interpret intellectual property right. Okay, but the catch is IP is also teaching us to respect time because priority application, making your patent application first, in the run for patent recognition or trademark recognition is also very important. The priority principle is also there. So you have to be the first one to file. Okay. But Professor Bedkar will also agree to me that it's a very expensive process to file a patent. So nowadays banks are also using your IP assets, your IP patented documents as a collateral. That means you can keep it as a security and get loan. But the fallback is, what if your patent is not functioning well in the market? Okay, so there's an example of Kingfisher, a trademark. They took 2 crore loan and kept their trademark as a security with the bank. And later, when they did not repay back the loan, the bank decided to put the trademark in auction. But it did not even cross 50 lakh for the bidding. So sometimes it fails also. So Indian banks are quite careful when they when they take IP as a security. So my third presentation is China. Till date, per year, they accept application because IP literacy rate is much higher there. 14 lakh applications they receive. US 7 lakh. India 50,000 and below. And the problematic phase is that the 30% are NRI. So Indians are not coming forward to file their IPs. And either they don't recognize or they don't respect and don't see or observe IP, the importance of IP around them. So the government is taking initiative now. They are coming with national IP literacy. Union Education Ministry is focusing on this. This is upcoming. It's all over news these days. They are coming up with national startup policy for faculty and students, and we will definitely be, hopefully, we'll be joining this startup policies. They are also planning to train faculty as an innovation ambassador. Sir, I really wanted you to consider on with this upcoming ongoing initiative, because you are so much well known and well versed in IP that I think you'll definitely take your universities in different scale if you work with your team, with the organizing team who are the dignitaries that are there. I got so much excited when I saw their profile in the organizing team, the poster that you created. So they can really work together on this initiative. National IPR policy is also there, which lays down 7 important objects, how we as an institution can promote intellectual property. There is also a cell for IPR promotion and management, which are working on those 7 objectives of IPR. You can simply write to them. Their email address is there. The link I've shared here in this PPT. Their 4 roles, they create an awareness, they give awareness program, they give tips on how a university can improve on IP awareness and how they can do it in collaboration with your universities. They recognize national schools and IIT, they fund their research, they help them, they give good amount of funding for research and writing books. Even private institutions, although they are not receiving any funding from government, they take up pro bono filing of patent. Jindal Global Law School, I'm alumni of this law school, so they have started pro bono filing, free filing of patent application. Even we have opened up a small clinic for research in IP, where we connect with inventors and IP holders. World Intellectual Property Organization, this is the main organization, which is also very easy to connect. Okay, we launched our IP clinic in their platforms. It's very easy to connect and create awareness. Students will be excited to connect to this organization. Faculty will be recognized to connect with such an international organization. So link is there. I'll request everyone to visit this link, and I've listed the ongoing initiative taken by them, but they are starting from the very basic, from the school awareness program, from the cartoon and animated series for students. So a very, very welcoming step they are taking. So my request, as I'll end.
Collectively do IPR awareness and to file more and more patents from our India. as you have said that Chandigarh University is topper in our college, means in our country. So every institute or every college or every university should go through this way, so that it will be the bright career opportunities in India also in this regard. Thank you, madam. That Kingfisher explanation was very different. Today I have known more about that how IP is considered for evaluating by the banks also. So it was very new for me, because I have not think about that topic in that way. Thank you, madam, very much from my all organizing team.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the participants for the time and consideration. And definitely, if you are inspired and you are inspiring me as well again, so thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, organizing team as well.
Thank you, sir, for your concluding words about the speech and your remarks about the keynote speech, the topic intellectual property law. Now I am here for the formal vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank chairperson of this national webinar, respected Principal Dr. M.M. Bedkar sir, who has chaired this webinar and also shared his concluding words about the keynote speech. I thank him very much. And also I thank respected keynote speaker and chief guest of this national webinar, who has spared her precious time and enlightened us about all the aspects of intellectual property law, and she has suggested that we are far behind in registering for patents, and we should become literate about the intellectual property law, and also we should spread knowledge of it, because it will help the individual, the society and the nation to go forward. And so I thank her heartily for her presentation. I also thank the organizing committee members who are giving us different topics for national webinar and trying to spread the knowledge. I also thank Dhole ma'am, who has given nice introduction of the respected keynote speaker. I also thank all the participants from different parts of the country and from outside who are making this webinar series successful. And at the end of the webinar, I would like to tell all the participants to fill up feedback link so that they can get their certificates. Thank you very much on behalf of the college and the institution. Thanks.
Thank you, madam.
सर फीडबॅक लिंक चालत नाहीये.